All right, are you tired yet? Let's wrap up this chapter on creation by talking finally about creation versus naturalism. How does creationism differ from naturalism? Naturalism views creation as merely the product of time, energy, and chance. As Carl Sagan famously said, the cosmos is all that is or ever was or ever will be. Or to say it another way, the ultimate explanation of everything from life to love is to be found in particle physics, string theory, and whatever governs the elements of the material world, as there is nothing beyond the physical world and its atoms. Darwin, of course, was an English naturalist who founded the modern theory of evolution. He published his proposal in the 1859 book On the Origin of Species. Now, as Christians, we're free to accept the seemingly self-evident fact of microevolution, which means that species can and do adapt to their environments, but Christians are not free to accept the yet unproven and highly suspect thesis of naturalistic and atheistic macroevolution, which is when one species, or the belief that one species can evolve into another species entirely. Now, the reasons for the decline of confidence in macroevolution over the years are many, even among naturalists. Macroevolution purports that nothing made everything, which really is quite a leap of faith. Sometimes it's called spontaneous generation. Macroevolution is put in a quandary between the undeniable evidence that the universe had a beginning and the equally undeniable principle that nothing comes out of nothing. We saw this already a little bit earlier in the chapter. Now, number 2, macroevolution purports that chaos made order. And again, that doesn't really even make sense. It takes a lot of faith to believe something like that. The teleological argument, telos means purpose or design, so the argument from design seeks to convince from the amazing harmony in all of creation that the world has been ordered by an intelligent designer who is God. So this is our answer to that macroevolutionary thought. Now, Paley's watchmaker analogy stated that if you came across something as complex as a watch, you would rightly assume that an intelligent designer made it. And in recent decades, the fine-tuning argument has also gained prominence as a form of the teleological argument. Here's a good excerpt of that from Collins' book. He says, when you look from the perspective of a scientist at the universe, it looks as if it knew we were coming. There are 15 constants, the gravitational constant, various constants about the strong and weak nuclear forces, etc., that have precise values. And if any one of those constants was off by even 1 part in a million, or in some cases by 1 part in a million, the universe could not have actually come to the point where we see it. Matter would not have been able to coalesce. There would have been no galaxy, stars, planets, or people. And again, this is an example of a Christian's fine-tuning argument to go against some of scientific naturalism's theories. Now, thirdly, macroevolution purports that impersonal matter made personal humanity, which is, again, preposterous. How can impersonal matter create a person with an identity and personality? It would take a lot of faith to believe that that could happen. And really, the biblical understanding takes less faith. The Christian simply states the biblical fact that our personal, passionate, and infinitely brilliant God made us with bits of his glory in our heart, mind, and personality. Now, fourth, macroevolution purports that evolution came over long periods of time without transitional forms in the fossil record. And fifth, macroevolution purports to be unbiased science. And that, of course, the authors say is just simply not true. So here's a summary statement. Indeed, there's no conflict between science and Christian faith. However, there is a conflict between Christianity and atheistic naturalism, which refuses to follow the truth wherever it leads, expressly because it leads to a belief in God. Now let's wrap up this chapter by asking a practical question. What difference does the doctrine of creation make for your life? Well, if you do not believe in the doctrine of creation, you will likely believe that you came from no one, you are alive on the earth for nothing, and that when you die, you will go nowhere. Famous atheistic philosopher Bertrand Russell says it like this at the bottom of that chapter, or that section. He says, only within the scaffolding of these truths, only on the firm foundation of the unyielding despair, can the soul's habitation henceforth be safely built. Really? Unyielding despair, that's really what comes out of atheistic naturalism. Christian writer N.T. Wright goes on to say this, for the Christian's part: the creation of the world was the free outpouring of God's powerful love, and having made such a world, he has remained in a close, dynamic, and intimate relationship with it. That's the God of the Bible, and that's the creator of the world. So the doctrine of creation sets the stage for the coming of Jesus Christ, and as we will see in the coming chapters, he comes on a rescue mission to save us from unyielding despair by dying for us, placing his own Spirit in us, and promising to return us one day to rescue creation so that it is no longer bleak, cold, and empty. Amen. Why don't you pause here as you finish up this chapter, talk about these questions before you go on, and we'll see you in the next chapter.